Colin Dooley reveals his dream, says all he ever wanted was to become Baylen's husband. In a world where declarations of love often get lost in the noise of fleeting attention and shallow affection, Colin Dooley's words rang clear, genuine, and unforgettable. "All I ever wanted," he said softly in a recent interview, "was to become Baylen's husband." It wasn't a publicity stunt, nor a moment of impulsive vulnerability. It was the culmination of years of love, hope, and unwavering dedication. Colin Dooley is not a household name, not yet, anyway. But for those who have followed his journey, he's become something of a quiet legend. Known among close circles as the reserved, thoughtful creative with a heart full of passion, Colin has always stayed behind the scenes. But Baylen has been a star from the moment he stepped into the light, charming, enigmatic, with a magnetic presence that drew the world in. Their story didn't begin with fireworks or cinematic declarations. It started, as many genuine connections do, in simplicity. A mutual friend, a shared laugh at an after-party, an exchanged glance that lingered just long enough to feel like destiny was reaching out to touch them. But for Colin, that moment left a permanent mark. He described it in a recent podcast episode titled Baylen Out Loud, hosted by pop culture commentator Cassie Ray. "I knew I was in trouble the moment he smiled at me," Colin said. "There was something about the way he looked at me, like he saw me, not who I was trying to be, but the real me. And in that moment I knew that I would love him, whether he ever loved me back or not." Love, however, wasn't immediate. Baylen was busy building his career, navigating fame, and keeping himself guarded from the whirlwind that comes with being constantly in the public eye. Colin, too, was working through personal growth, battling self-doubt, and carving his identity in a world that often demanded compromise. Still, their paths continued to cross, through art, music, mutual projects, and those quiet in-between moments that revealed far more than headlines ever could. What makes Colin's revelation so powerful isn't just the emotion behind it. It's the patience that came with it. Years went by. Sometimes they drifted apart. Sometimes they found themselves standing next to each other at events, hands brushing, hearts racing. Still, Colin waited, not in desperation, but with hope. Quiet, enduring hope. "I never wanted to be his boyfriend," Colin said. "I mean, of course I did. But more than that, I wanted something permanent. I didn't want the Instagram post or the official tag. I wanted Sunday mornings and shared bookshelves. I wanted to wake up next to him every day and call him my husband. That's the dream I carried." That dream, though private, wasn't a secret to those close to Colin. His journals were filled with poetry about Baylen. Friends recalled late-night conversations where Colin would speak about him with a reverence that bordered on sacred. And when Baylen went through heartbreaks and public scandals, Colin remained silent, not with indifference, but with respect. "I always wanted him to find happiness," Colin said, "even if it wasn't with me. But life has a funny way of rewarding patience and purity of heart." Last year, something shifted. Baylen, who had kept his heart guarded for so long, began to open up. In interviews, he spoke more vulnerably about longing for stability and authenticity. His social media posts became quieter, more introspective. And behind the scenes, friends noticed him spending more and more time with Colin. Then came the photos. Unplanned, unposed, and undeniably intimate. A shared umbrella in the rain. A laugh in the park. A glance that didn't need words. The internet speculated, fans celebrated, and tabloids circled, but neither Colin nor Baylen said anything. Until now. Colin's decision to speak wasn't about going public for the sake of fame. It was, he said, about living in truth. "For so long, I loved him in silence. And I'll always cherish those quiet years, because they shaped the kind of love I have now. But I'm ready to speak, not just for me, but for anyone who's ever carried a dream in their heart and didn't let the world silence it." He paused, then added, "All I ever wanted was to become Baylen's husband. And I think he knows that now." The interview went viral within hours. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, fan art, and personal stories about their own silent loves. Baylen, for his part, responded not with a statement, but with a single photo posted to his story. A hand holding Colin's. No caption, none needed. Their love, it seems, was never about spectacle, it was about soul. And in a world constantly rushing, their story reminds us of the quiet power of patience, of hope, and of believing that some dreams, when nurtured with care, do come true. As for what's next, Colin isn't making grand promises or rushing down aisles. "I don't know where the road leads," he said with a smile. "But I do know who I want walking beside me. And if someday we're standing together exchanging vows, I'll know it was all worth it." In a culture obsessed with instant gratification, Colin and Baylen's story is a reminder that love can grow quietly, deeply, and beautifully over time. It's not always loud, but when it finally speaks, it echoes. Baylen Dupree talks mental health, reveals she was suicidal amid Tourette battle. Baylen Dupree is not just a rising digital personality or a young woman navigating fame. She is a brave voice for mental health and neurological disorders. In a world increasingly obsessed with curated perfection and filtered realities, Baylen has used her platform to unveil the raw, often misunderstood reality of living with Tourette syndrome. In a recent emotionally charged discussion, she revealed that her battle with the disorder led her to a dark place, one where she contemplated suicide. But more than just sharing pain, Baylen's story is one of hope, awareness, and the power of honesty and healing. Tourette syndrome is a complex neurological disorder characterized by involuntary tics, both motor and vocal. For those unfamiliar with the condition, it might be easy to reduce it to a series of outbursts or movements, often misunderstood or even mocked. But for Baylen and countless others who live with it daily, it's a relentless, exhausting struggle that affects every aspect of life, from social interactions to basic routines. Baylen has lived most of her life with Tourette's, but it wasn't until she gained traction on platforms like TikTok that her journey became public. Rather than hiding or downplaying her tics, Baylen leaned into authenticity. Her videos show the real, unfiltered version of herself, tics, struggles, and all. That unflinching honesty resonated with millions, drawing attention to a disorder that's still widely stigmatized and misunderstood. However, behind the screen, Baylen was facing emotional turmoil that her followers didn't always see. In her candid conversation about mental health, Baylen shared that at one point, the emotional and physical toll of her disorder became so overwhelming that she experienced suicidal ideation. "There were moments where I didn't want to keep going," she admitted, her voice trembling with the weight of truth. "I felt like a burden, like I'd never be understood." This revelation struck a powerful chord. For many people struggling with chronic conditions, especially ones that are visibly and audibly different, the psychological impact can be just as severe as the physical symptoms. Feelings of isolation, shame, and being othered by society can accumulate until they feel unbearable. Baylen's openness shattered the illusion that social media fame or external validation can protect someone from internal suffering. Her experience speaks to a broader issue in mental health conversations: the need to include neurodivergent voices. People with Tourette's and other neurological disorders often face a double stigma. Not only do they contend with the symptoms of their conditions, but they also must combat the ignorance, ridicule, or dismissal from others. This can lead to severe mental health consequences, including depression and suicidal thoughts. Baylen's story is a wake-up call, but it's also a beacon. By revealing the darkest part of her journey, she's giving others permission to speak about theirs. Her vulnerability is a form of advocacy, a way to challenge misconceptions, encourage empathy, and promote genuine understanding. What's striking about Baylen is not just her willingness to talk about pain, but her focus on survival. In the same breath that she revealed her suicidal ideation, she spoke of the people who helped pull her back: her family, friends, therapists, and even some of her online followers who reminded her that her voice mattered. I realized I wasn't alone, she said. And I wanted to live, not just survive, but really live. She also spoke about the importance of therapy and finding mental health resources that work for her. There's no one-size-fits-all, Baylen noted. But for me, talking about it saved me. Therapy gave me language. Support gave me strength. Baylen's honesty has opened the door for larger discussions about how society treats those with visible differences and disabilities. She has emphasized the importance of education, not just for the public, but within schools and families, to help foster compassion rather than confusion or cruelty. Many people with Tourette's are bullied, ostracized, or silenced. Baylen is turning that tide by turning up the volume. Moreover, her presence online is creating community. People with Tourette syndrome, especially young girls who often feel invisible, are finding in her someone who represents them, not as a victim, but as a warrior. Her joy, her struggles, and even her moments of doubt form a tapestry that others can relate to, learn from, and find solace in. Baylen doesn't claim to have all the answers, and she's not pretending that everything is now magically perfect. What she offers is far more valuable. A roadmap of what it looks like to keep going when everything tells you to stop. She is continuing to use her platform to advocate for better mental health awareness and disability inclusion. She is working with organizations and medical professionals to help spread awareness about Tourette's and pushing for systemic change in how society treats people with neurological disorders. Her story is not just about Tourette syndrome. It's about resilience in the face of despair. It's about how openness can heal, how vulnerability can build bridges, and how storytelling can save lives, both the tellers and the listeners. In a world of silence and stigma, Baylen Dupree chose to speak. She chose to shout, tick, cry, and laugh out loud. And in doing so, she is helping others find their own voices. "I'm still here," she said with quiet power. "And I want others to know they can be too." Baylen out loud is more than a phrase, it's a movement. One that challenges shame, uplifts truth, and reminds us all that healing begins with being heard.